This is the Momentum Podcast.
The third step of the Charfen process is commit. And that might sound good in theory, but how do you do it? How do you commit? Especially when you're so deep in the day-to-day operations of your business, sometimes it can feel overwhelming to hear that you need to commit to something that's unknown. The reality is that there's 4 stages that all of us go through to learn something new. And they're directly related to our ability to commit to a plan and start moving forward fast. In this episode of the Momentum Podcast, we get another glimpse inside of the Charfen Summit. In this clip, Alex is teaching the concept of learning to the members of our highest level mastermind, Accelerator. Understanding these stages and how they directly impact your ability to commit to a plan is going to be a powerful takeaway for you and your team.
I'm Alex Charfen, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future. And instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be. When I look at it, at anything that I'm trying to learn as a human being, I want to understand that there's actually stages of application and stages of learning, and there's ways that you can actually make what you want to do real. And here's what I mean by that. When we first start trying to learn or achieve or do anything, there's these stages we go through. So first, when you first start trying to understand something, start trying to learn something, you're in this state of unconscious incompetence. And so here's what that means. When you first enter into a system like our Cadence and you have no clue, first, you don't understand what you don't know. That's like the first step of learning anything. You have to come in and actually get past unconscious competence. I bring this up because as entrepreneurs, we get into a system like ours and we want to be winners right away. We want to I'm going to crush this. I'm going to do all of it. I'm going to make it amazing. I'm going to make it huge. Well, let's get real. We're only solving the system that's going to run the rest of your life and business. It might take a couple of minutes to get it installed. Let's have some grace and let's have some patience. And let's understand that we all enter a learning process at unconscious competence. This means we don't even know what we don't know. The next step in the process, the next stage of growth when you're going through a learning process is you now become conscious of your incompetence. And I'm bringing this up for several reasons. I'll explain in a minute. So the second stage of learning, the second stage of performance is conscious incompetence. A lot of you are actually creating conscious incompetence in this event. Our goal in this event for anyone who's new is to create conscious incompetence. Here's what we want to create. We want you to now be conscious of what you don't know so you can go fill in the gaps. And conscious incompetence is this stage where we know what we don't understand and we can start to fill it in. It's only the second stage of learning. The next stage of learning is where we become conscious, competent. We become, conscious. I just want to make sure I'm not leaving letters off. Sorry. Conscious. So we create conscious. I'm going to change that. Conscious competence instead of the other way so that it's congruent. And so now here's what happens. When you're consciously competent, it's like you know what to do going into the meeting. You're reviewing the notes on the way in. You know what you should be doing. You know how to go through the targeted interaction summary. You know your role in the meeting. You're conscious and you're competent at what you're doing. And then the last stage of learning is the one where expertise is created, and the one where magic happens is conscious unconscious competence, where now you are unconscious of how competent you are and it feels natural. And these are the stages that everyone has to go through to learn a new discipline, to learn a new outcome, to learn how to apply something. And so when you look at our content, here's what we know. These 4 stages are very real at each level of the billionaire code. So when you look at this, the billionaire code's 9 levels, you're going through these 4 levels. That means there's really 36 transitions as we go through this. And that means each level you look at it and first you acquire unconscious, you're in a state before you get into it of unconscious incompetence. Then we want to move towards consciously knowing what you need to do, then consciously doing what you need to do, then unconsciously doing it because you don't even feel like you don't feel it anymore. And the way that you achieve this level is not just by doing. See, one of the biggest challenges is that when this, and I've seen this explained before, you guys have probably heard this before, you probably heard it in different content before. It's a way that I think about our content constantly. When I'm creating content, I think to myself, we're starting an unconscious incompetence. How do I guide them into this so that they can now understand what they need to know? Then how do I guide them into this so they can do what they need to do? Then how do I guide them into this so that they can do that over time and it gets locked in and it's real? And so the way that you get to this unconscious competence is first you have to apply. First you learn content, then you apply the content, and in the application of the content, in the doing of the content, in the application is where understanding is created. And then in order to make it real, you have to build process around continuing to do it the same way. So you learn something, you apply it, and in order to stay in this realm of unconscious competence, there has to be a process in place. And so one of the things that we do as entrepreneurs is that we consistently fight process and we try and get process out of our lives, which is a huge mistake. And we think that process is going to be too controlling, it's going to be too much. And what reality is that process is what will absolutely set us free. And so the way that this works is, as you're learning something, when you get to unconscious competence, the way that you maintain it is you make it real. And here's what I mean by make it real. You create a structure around it. And when you look at our systems, it is all about this learning process and making something real. So I'll use one of our foundational systems as an example, the Momentum Planner. So if you want to become healthy, one of the big challenges for entrepreneurs is that we have a lot of shoulds in our life. In fact, if we scroll back through the chat or if we go to any event and as an entrepreneur, you will hear entrepreneurs say things like, oh, I should start doing that. Oh, that's something I really should do, and we say things like, I should eat healthier. I should drink more water. I should really focus on my sleep. I should make things better. We should all over ourselves. And we also should all over our teams because they're feeling and understanding that energy of us like in this place of I should. We should stop and set that whole behavior aside and start deciding on what's real for us and what we're actually going to commit to and make real in our lives. And so I'll give you a one that I'm currently going through. I work with Dr. Jason Bradley. He's one of our members. And when I first started working with Jason, when it came to all of the stuff that he asked us to do, I was unconsciously incompetent. Like I didn't understand his system, but I knew that he was getting outcomes that I wanted. So I had to understand it, understand his detox diet, understand the processes, the testing, everything that we had to do. I moved into a place of conscious incompetence, and believe me, it was conscious incompetence because I didn't really understand a lot of the processes and the structure. I'm not great at following systems. So I actually had to get coached by Jason's coach. And we got on a call with Dan, his coach. He coached me and my daughters and Katie. All 4 of us were there. We moved into a realm of conscious competence. Now I understand what they expect of us. I understand what they want us to do. We know where we're going next. And so here's what we're doing. We've learned it. We're applying it. And now I'm building process. So in our family, every one of us uses the Momentum Planner. And it's interesting, since we signed up with Dr. Jason Bradley, what often happens with Kennedy, my 10-year-old, this is a 10-year-old who we've all had the discussion of getting healthier, eliminating inflammation, eating more whole foods. And in her intention for the day at 10 years old, she will often write down, my intention is to eat healthy and to be healthy. which is just amazing for a 10-year-old to write that down. But the reason that she puts it here, the reason she makes it real, is that this is the process she's using to execute it, even at 10 years old. And so the reason I bring up this progression is several reasons. One, give yourself grace going through our content. We all come in unconsciously incompetent. Give yourself grace. This is the system and the structure that is going to build the rest of your career. This is the system and the structure that is going to protect your personal life. This is the system and the structure that is going to create congruency and alignment between who you want to be, the relationships in your life, and your business. It's that big. It's that dynamic. If you apply this either at the CEO level, the operator level, or even someone on the team, it will do those things for you. You know, the way that I look at personal development, I've been told I'm a personal development speaker for ages, but here's how I look at personal development. If you start winning a bunch and you grow a business and you grow a team, like that's the most incredible dynamic personal development process there is out there. So this to me is as dramatic personal development content you can possibly get. And so when you're going through our structure and when you're going through our systems, the way that you actually make it permanent is you build it into your life. You build it into the momentum planner. You have it in your weekly commitments. You're tracking metrics and milestones in your personal life. You're building that personal waterfall. At the same time in the business, when you install something in the business, the entire business is unconsciously incompetent. All of you move towards conscious incompetence. Then you move towards competence. Then you move towards unconscious competence. And at that point, it should be a process. It should be a structure. It should be a system that's running on its own. So the reason I bring this up is we often work with entrepreneurs that get into our system and say, like, you know, how do you make this go faster? And how do I apply it quicker? And how do I do this? Well, here's what we want you to understand. The process of going through those 4 stages of unconscious competence to unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence is a process, and it takes a while. And it actually takes doing it a few times. And so when you get into our structure, here's what we want you to know. If you trust the process in the first quarter, you'll see dramatic results. If you trust the process and continue to apply in the second quarter, you will realize how much you miss in the first quarter, and you'll get even better results. And if you continue to do that at the end of the year, you'll think back to your first quarterly and go, oh my gosh, what were we even doing? And you'll be so much better at it now. And so I bring this up because all of us, the more that we devote to this system, the more that we put time into the processes, the more that we make it real, the more that we actually use the whole structure, the easier that this gets for you to support it throughout your entire life. And so remember that you're going through that process as we do this. And here's what I want everyone to know. Because due to the way that we built our content and due to the way that the resources are there and that you're actually making application exercises instead of just being lectured to, you will go through those 4 stages in our content fast. The fastest I've seen from like a dramatic change not fastest. One of the fastest I've seen is Credit Repair Cloud. Daniel Rosen came in running a $4 million business and answering his own support tickets. I'm not making this up. He literally was in his support program every day, answering support tickets for people. In about a 9-month period, Daniel went from being so far down in the weeds and overwhelmed that he was literally in his support program to being completely in the passenger seat and having the business run around him to the point where it was a little bit disorienting. So if you're willing to go through those stages of growth, the results can be fast, the results can be dynamic and dramatic, but we all need to go through the stages of growth. Let's just understand that that's where we are as a community, and that's what we're supporting each other to do.
What a powerful presentation on what it means to truly commit to something. If you're ready to take the next step and get control of the decisions that are happening in your business, we want to help you. If you go to billionairecode.com right now, you'll be able to see where you are on the path to entrepreneurial success and get on a call with a member of our team to figure out which one of our coaching programs best fits your need. Let us teach you how to implement the Sharfen process into everything that you do in your business. We'll teach you how to analyze the problems that are most affecting you right now, prioritize those problems so you know which one is most important and which one you should tackle first, commit to a plan, execute it, and then do it all over again. Go to billionairecode.com right now to get started. That's billionairecode.com.